Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to another video on this channel if you're new here. Hey, my name is Lillian and I really like to talk about books, clearly. And if you also like to talk about books, feel free to subscribe. We can talk about them together. Okay, so the title of this video, I'm not buying any books in 2023. Strong statement. It being the end of 2022 or just about, I'm looking ahead to thinking about some of the goals that I want to achieve with my reading in the coming year in 2023. And I was just thinking about the number of books that I currently have on my shelves that I own that I haven't read. So I keep track of a lot of my reading on Storygraph, and they have a feature where you can mark a book as owned, and I've gone ahead and done all of that for the books that I currently own that I haven't read. So I was having to look through this morning just to see how many unread books I currently own, and it is currently 379 books. That breaks down to about 165 fiction books and 200 nonfiction books. And for those of you counting at home, that does not add up to 379. I think Storygraph has about 14 books that are uncategorized into either fiction or nonfiction, and that might be some poetry books. I usually do regular cleanouts of my bookshelf every couple of months just to refresh it and check in and see, are there books on the shelf that either I have read and I don't really see myself rereading, even if I really enjoyed them, and are there books that I haven't read and I really have sort of lost the passion for wanting to read them, or they aren't super pressing like I would want to read them in the next year or two. And if that's the case, I usually pull them off my shelves and I donate them to my local thrift store or my library, and also friends who are interested in reading those books. I figure if there's a book that I've read that I have passed along that I end up sometime in the future really wanting to reread, I can always pick it up at my local library. Same thing with books that I realized I really don't want to read anytime soon or really have a passion for reading at all anymore. Again, I can possibly check them out for my local library in the future or pick them up again. I'm at a point in my life where I've realized that I don't need to hang on to stuff just to hang on to stuff. If it's not something that is actively bringing me joy, or I know that I will get good use out of, or has a special sentimentality or memory attached to it that I would like to hold on to, then I don't really need it in my life. So my plan is to approach this book buying ban not from the perspective of restricting myself. The unread books on my shelf are ones that I have repeatedly kept through multiple clear-outs that I clearly am still very much excited to get to. I'm thinking of this no-buy year as a way to refocus my attention onto these books that I clearly am still interested in, that I clearly still have a passion to read and I'm excited about, by not allowing myself to be distracted by new shiny books. I'm reminding myself that reading is one hobby, book buying is another, and the two are not the same. So in the last couple of years, the number of books that I've read on average per year has been between about 70 and 110 books, and I feel like I can definitely up that number in the coming years. One in part to audiobooks, and two, I found myself becoming more and more consistent in my reading. So I would like to make it a priority to make a large dent in my physically owned TBR and finally give the books the attention and love that they deserve. So I'm not only going to be reading books from my own shelves, I will definitely be utilizing my local library for books that I don't already own that I'm really excited about. I'll insert a clip here of the current stack of library books that I have out, just so you can get a feel. I clearly am not at a lack for books. I'm clearly not at a loss for new or new to me exciting books. My library has a really good selection, and if the library location that is closest to me doesn't have the book that I want, there are any number of other libraries within my county that more than likely have it. So utilizing my library's hold system as well as the Hoopla app for a lot of audiobooks, poetry collections, and graphic novels. This whole stepping back from consumerism mindset is something that I'm definitely applying in other areas of my life and have been for about a year or two. I'm a really big fan of makeup and fashion, but I have found that I've really enjoyed sort of paring my collections down to stuff that I know I really love and enjoy wearing and being creative with. And at this point, something really has to wow me in order for me to want to incorporate it into either my closet or my makeup collection. And it has to be something that I know I'm going to get a lot of use out of as well. Two exceptions for this book buying ban are: one, I'm allowed to buy books for other people. I like to gift books to a lot of my friends and family, so I will continue to do that. And the second exception is I'm allowing myself to pre-order the next installment in the Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir. Electa the Ninth comes out in September of 2023, and I'm allowing myself to pre-order that book because it is part of one of my favorite series of all time, and I would really like to support one of my favorite authors with their new release. At the moment, I'm currently waiting for some used books that I recently ordered to come in. These were all books that I knew I really wanted to read in the coming year that my library did not have, I didn't currently own. My library was not able to obtain them via interlibrary loan either. Or they were books that I knew that I wanted to read and annotate, which I can't do with a library book. So there will be an upcoming book haul before I cut myself off for the coming year, but I definitely still see myself doing library book hauls throughout 2023 just to let you know what are some of the books that I have picked up that I'm really looking forward to reading. And in the coming weeks, I'm also planning on uploading some videos with lists of books that I currently own or can check out from my local library that I'm really excited to get to in the coming year. So creating those TBRs for myself to keep myself on track, but also to motivate me. Talking about books that I really love also sort of keeps them in the back of my brain. Sorry, I'm rushing a little bit here. I need to get out the door in the next few minutes, but I wanted to quickly talk about some of my general reading goals for 2023. First up, I would like to read 100 books next year. I have passed that milestone this year, so I can definitely see myself doing that again next year. I would also really like to read more of the nonfiction on my shelves, and I've set a goal for myself to read at least 24 nonfiction books that I own in the coming year. That's about 2 per month, which I feel like is definitely doable. I would like to read through my current unread collection of poetry books as well as graphic novels. I feel like that is also a pretty doable goal for next year. And then in the next 5 classics that I want to read video that I uploaded, I talked about wanting to finally finish The Complete Sherlock Holmes, which I have been reading since senior year of high school, which was about 10 years ago. I'm halfway through here, and I have really enjoyed this book when I have been reading it. I think for me it is just the size of the book itself that has been deterring me. It's not very comfortable to read. It's pretty heavy. Also, the text is very tiny and there's not much space between lines. Nevertheless, I would like to prioritize finally finishing this book in 2023. There are also a number of authors that I would really like to delve into more or try for the first time in the coming year. I would really like to read James Baldwin. I currently have Giovanni's Room on order from my library. So excited to get to that one. Also Rebecca Solnit. I read Hope in the Dark, which she published in 2008, I believe, and adored that essay collection. She is very well-known creative nonfiction essay writer, and I would really like to explore her backlog more. Angela Carter is also an author that I really want to delve into more. The Bloody Chamber and Nights at the Circus are some of my favorite books, and I just adore her writing and would like to immerse myself in it and be inspired by it. Bell Hooks is also another author that I really want to read more of. I have read a few of her nonfiction books related to feminist studies, and I know that she has a whole backlog of other topics and essays that she has written about. And last but not least, I also want to read more of Jeanette Winterson. I read The Passion by her, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and enjoyed it, and I have a number of books on my shelf by her that I would really like to get to as well. I'm also planning on exploring my newfound appreciation for middle grade literature. Along that same line, I would really like to reread The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine M. Valente, which is a retelling of the story of Alice in Wonderland. I would like to reread that and then continue on and finish with that series. Speaking of revisiting books, I would also really like to reread some classics and also books that I read in high school that were really influential for me at the time that I would like to revisit. I would like to see if they still hold up for me at age 27. The first 2 being 1984 and Animal Farm by George Orwell, and also The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje. I think that's how you say his last name. He is Dutch. Reading Lolita in Tehran was one of my favorite books that I read in high school. It still haunts the back of my brain, and I would really like to revisit it and likely annotate it this time. I also want to revisit The House of Spirits by Isabel Allende, and then also this little essay collection that I picked up at a thrift store when I was in high school. Wasn't really expecting much and ended up being blown away. This is Undertaking Life Studies from the Dismal Trade by Thomas Lynch. This is written by an undertaker who is also a poet and a novelist, and it's essays and reflections on mortality and the perspective that he has as the undertaker for his small community in a rural town in Michigan. And I just remember the writing of this being gorgeous and being deeply moved by a lot of the essays in here, so I want to read this again. But that is it, my friends. Those are some of my reading goals for 2023. Let me know if you currently have any plans for the upcoming reading year. Are you setting a goal for yourself for how many books you want to read? Are you doing any sort of book buying ban? Let me know. I'd love to hear it in the comments below. But that is all from me, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. That really helps. Thank you. And I really need to run out the door because I am running late. So I will see you in my next video. Bye.